I mean, at the time, there wasn't a lot that had been discussed. The history was so recent that apart from what was in the news, there hadn't been a lot of in-depth books written, really none actually. So we had to kind of generate our own source material and do a lot of research really out of necessity. And so we just went and talked to a lot of people and gathered string until we felt like we had enough of a background in the subject.
So once you had the background, how did you figure out your point of view and how to get into the story, how to tell the story?
A lot of women had worked on this hunt, if you will, and that there was one woman in particular who played a fairly decisive role. And then at a certain point, you kind of put all the research aside and you say to yourself, like, okay, I still have to write a screenplay. This is a movie. It's a motion picture. Hopefully it's a work of dramatic art. And so you start thinking about things in terms of story and character and momentum and narrative. And when that phase of the process happened, the Maya character was born out of a real life analog, out of a real life person. But the decisions to kind of focus on her were as I think they should be, creative. What we were trying to tell a very contemporary story in a very contemporary way. And for me, I mean, that will mean different things to different people, but for me that means maybe letting go of some of the dramatic tropes that people normally deploy to make something seem convincing. No, from the very beginning, we wanted the point of view to feel like real, and to feel like the audience was watching something that was real. And I think audiences are more maybe down for that than in olden times, let's say. And I think people are so accustomed to so much information being dumped at them, and really the audiences today are so media savvy.
A lot of these scenes in this movie it's more about subtext. It's all, and we're also getting this idea of it's a bunch of people in a room in a very low tech way, and that's how they found it. It's not sort of fancy computers, and it's people working hard. It's in a sort of grungy room, and that's kind of how it all goes down, and not supercomputers doing all this work. So it does set the stage. That's the first scene in the movie after all the enhanced interrogation scenes. So it really does set the stage for sort of what you're about to see. All these people just like doing their job every day for 10 years.
It feels contemporary to me to not. To trust the audience's intelligence and not lay everything out for them, and to use subtext, and to assume that you might not really know who Maj Khan is, you might not really care, but you're going to be able to pick up the story and like stay clued in as time goes on. I don't know, that feels for some reason maybe more contemporary than spelling everything out. Like once upon a time, there was somebody named Osama bin Laden, and these are the people that found him. And also not talk down to them. I mean, if you were in that room, nobody would stop and explain things to you. So part of the naturalism and realism is not having characters turn to each other and say, Maj Khan, that guy that we talked about last week, who's kind of important but not critical, so like we don't have to really focus on it. Like once you do that kind of exposition, you sort of cut against the naturalism that you're trying to achieve. So
audiences now can follow. They sort of have let go this need to be what the sham de champ or whatever, the over the shoulders and stay on the same side of the line. And I mean, people don't even talk about the line anymore. It's who cares? I know that guy in the sweater. Okay, good, got it. Keep going. And it is that they want to get to. They're trusting us as filmmakers to highlight the thing they really need to pay attention to. And so from a craft point of view, we have to keep that in mind.
We go to night at bin Laden's compound, and the decision was to shoot it night as night, which is a challenging thing to try to do in a movie. So we were moving back and forth between a moonless night and the night vision of the soldiers who are invading the compound.
The thing that was clear to me from the beginning was that all these soldiers, it's dark obviously, and the soldiers are all wearing the same uniform, and they have night vision goggles on, and they all kind of look the same. So how do we let the audience know where we are in this dark compound where even while I was cutting, it was confusing. So we came up with this, Catherine brilliantly, I mean, shot a lot of point of view from the sniper's point of view, who's up on this prayer room. So we used him, for the interior of the compound, we used him as a signpost, and we were able to establish him. When we went away, we came back generally to him when we were in that part of the compound, and used his point of view to sort of root the audience in where we were. And then when we were in the exterior, we used sort of the main gate as our signpost there. So because it was just impossible to know where everybody is. And I think, again, with this more modern filmmaking, or if you want to call it that, the audiences, I would be interested to know if you picked 100 people and asked them, say, tell me exactly what happened, and they might, some of them may know every detail, and some of them may know half the details, but because of the intensity of it, and because of their willingness to go along with it, because they're gripped by the story, I think they fill in blanks for you.